But if people realized how precarious, how dangerous the peril is right now today, I think they would give 3 times as much as they're already giving. I know you're going to have a successful money bomb, but when we finish this next 40 or 50 minutes, I hope people will really help you because, you know, we've been friends for a long, long time. And you started out on a shoestring, and, man, what you've done, miracles.
Well, you married my wife and I over 10 years ago.
Well, there was a miracle right there. You know, you really married up. Oh, no. Only kidding, Alex. No, I'm delighted. She was a very precious lady. She still is. And those kids are precious. So I tell you, you've really done well there, too. But I want to make sure that the America that we know can be great and was great will be exactly that. I feel for your kids and for families out there because America is not the same, and we need to restore it as much as we can. And we have such a fictitious political system. In fact, what we really have, Alex, and I think you'll agree with me on this, what we have is a global culture of corruption by the elite. It's unparalleled in greed and criminality. You know, it really represents the failure of globalization. It's the failure of globalization. And we should return back to patriotism, to nationalism, to America first. But as this proceeds, and I believe some bad things are going to happen over the next year, particularly. As it proceeds, though, they will come up with their solution, and their solution will not be less globalization, but they will say we need more. We need, just like even the Vatican was snookered into issuing a statement this week that said we need a supranational organization.
A world government, a global currency.
Exactly, a global currency, a global bank system. And, we already have these criminal organizations, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the International Bank of Settlements, the European Central Bank, and, of course, the counterfeiter, the greatest counterfeiter in the history of mankind, which is the Fed Reserve. I mean, their printing presses are unimpeded by U.S. laws. Alex, I have right here in my hand, it weighs about 10 pounds or so, maybe not that much, a copy of the first audit of the Fed Reserve System. In fact, I want to give people the number on it because they can ask their congressman for a copy. Now, remember, this is, as you know, a partial audit. Now, thanks to Congressman Ron Paul, and I have to admit to even the socialist senator from New England, Bernie Sanders, there was a little bit of legislation that required the Fed to at least come clean, supposedly, on a small period when they were doling out, this $16 or $17 trillion. Now, remember, $17 trillion, this report talks about, and it lists supposedly all of the corporations and banks throughout the world and how many billions they were given during the last couple of years by the Fed. The number of this, and it's dated July 2011, is GAO. Of course, that's the Government Accountability Office. GAO-11-696. But I'll tell you what, you don't want to eat a full meal when you're reading this 207-page report. You may vomit it up because, I mean, the money is incredible. Did you know that the European Central Bank was given a total of $8 trillion in a total of 271 transactions?
Yes.
The Bank of England, $919 billion. The Swiss National Bank, $466. The Bank of Japan, $387 billion. The Denmark Bank, the Reserve Bank of Australia, the Bank of Korea, the Norway, Banco de Mexico, even rich Germany, the Deutsche Bank got $77 billion. The Paribas France, $64 billion. Barclays of the United Kingdom, $232 billion. Now, Royal Bank of Scotland, I could keep going, and I haven't even named the American banks. But then we get to the corporations, Alex. We get to, everybody complained about poor old General Motors, right? They made the CEOs of Ford and General Motors and Chrysler go beg and grovel for some money from the TARP. Oh, it was an embarrassment to them. Meanwhile, the Fed under the table was giving more. They gave 10 times as much money to corporations overseas like Volkswagen, like BMW. Can you believe that? And they were keeping it all secret from us. I mean, even McDonald's, one of the richest restaurant fast food places in the world, got billions. Caterpillar Corporation. It goes on. I mean, the list is incredible. It goes pages and pages.
MSNBC got our bailout money to demonize families, to push abortion, to push gun control.
There you go. And of course, all of this is by plan. Now, what gives the Fed, and by the way, this is a one-time partial audit that will never be repeated. So we should give thanks to Congressman Ron Paul for getting a list of this $17 billion. But it's been said that the Fed Reserve probably has given out $50 trillion. Now, here's the thing, Alex. If you came to me and you wanted $1 million loan, and I gave it to you at 0% interest, that's a pretty good deal. A lot of these people got 0% interest on their loans and no collateral. Now, you could at least turn, and this is what has happened. This is how we're financing this gigantic debt. You give a huge bank overseas or here in the United States, Citicorp, J.P. Morgan Chase, SunTrust, whatever. You give them $50 billion at 0% interest, and they go and buy Treasury notes, the U.S. debt, and get 3% interest. Now, they don't care about giving loans to people to buy homes or automobiles or entrepreneurial businesses. Hey, they can get 3% for doing nothing. So they take with the left hand billions and billions, and they buy U.S. debt, Treasury notes and such. It is the biggest scam in the whole world. It is. I have never seen anything like it. Evidently, this has been going on for a long, long time, maybe since 1913. But as an attorney told me, evidently there is nothing to prevent. You know, this is why we see the manipulation on the stock market. If it goes down 300 points today, don't worry. The Fed Reserve and their banking pals, for temporary reasons, can drive it up 300 points tomorrow. So that's why it's so volatile. It's whipsawing back and forth, and people are losing their money left and right. And I believe what they're doing is redistributing the wealth of America. We were the richest country in the world, but they are redistributing this wealth. And that, you know, when we start with the money, but then we go to the oil, they're preventing us from producing our oil through the environmental program and all of these restrictions of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and all this. Meanwhile, though, Iraqi oil is being pulled up out of Iraq is the world's second largest oil producer. Where do you think the oil of Iraq is going? Remember Cheney told us, Alex, we won't have to pay 1 cent out of our pockets for the Iraq war.
Oh, yes.
We'll get all that oil from Iraq. But here's the problem. They built 2 new pipelines across, to the Mediterranean from Iraq. And BP, yes, infamous British Petroleum, BP, and the Chinese National Oil Company, CNOC, are getting all the oil. Listen, all you have to do is Google it up, and type in Google, China National Oil, BP, Iraq oil. You'll find that they've got a contract. They're the ones that got the contract. They're bringing the oil out of the ground, and they're rolling it through these 2 pipelines that the United States built and is protecting with our military. And guess what amount they're paying for that oil? Well, you and I know that it's around, today I think it was $94 a barrel on the world market. They're paying Iraq $2 big bucks, Alex, to BP and the Chinese National Oil Company. Now, where's the oil going? Is it coming to America? Are we getting a discount? Forget it. I'll tell you where it's going. The oil is going over to the Mediterranean. They're loading it on BP tankers. It's going all the way over to China, and China has built 25 new gasoline and oil refineries. The United States hasn't built one since 1976. And in fact, Sunoco, one of the biggest gasoline refiners in America, recently announced that they don't have any business. They don't have any. nobody wants to get their gasoline refined with them, and they're going to close up their last 2 gasoline refining plants in America. That'll mean probably 10,000 people laid off. Why is that? It's because China is built, 25 new gasoline refineries in the last 10 years. China doesn't even have any oil to refine. I mean, they have a little bit there in the China Sea and such, but they're basically without such natural resources. But they're getting all this oil. So what is happening is the United States is laundering the oil with the aid of the Rothschild Corporation, BP. It's going across in these new pipelines we built. That is the reason for the Iraq War. And China is being built up. Can you imagine? They're getting the oil for $2 a barrel, and they're selling it on the world market for $94 billion. And meanwhile...
Why are the globalists building up China? Because the CFR, as 20 years ago said the Chinese century's coming, 21st century. Why? Why is that the model?
Well, here's the reason why, Alex. Now, you think of this. We first have monopolistic cartel capitalism, not free capitalism, as we once had, but it's cartel capitalism. Now, the synthesis of that occurs when communism is integrated with this cartel capitalism. So you have a combination. Red China is the model for the New World Order. The Rothschilds and all the other elite. George Soros even announced it. You can go on YouTube and look it up. George Soros, you'll see him being interviewed.
No, they say Communist China is the model.
It is the model. Soros said it will be the leader of the New World Order, and he threatened America. George Soros said America better not resist. So, it's easy to get rich when you have the world's second largest oil-producing company, and you're paying $2 a barrel, and it was all arranged by the United States. Now, why would our own country stab us in the back and give Red China all this plush stores of oil? Well, the same thing has happened in Afghanistan. Now, I want to reveal something to your audience that I doubt very few people know. In Afghanistan, they even actually admitted a little bit that they had found incredible stores of minerals, copper, tin, aluminum. Well, guess who got the contract to dig it all out? Go online. You can actually see pictures. I mean, hundreds of miles of huge holes in the ground. And that's why Caterpillar and these other big land-moving, equipment companies, their profits are so high. They're selling all this equipment, and the Chinese mining corporations have moved into Afghanistan. Why are we there to fight the Taliban? There's very few Taliban. We're there to protect the Chinese. In fact, I found a story online that was Dateline, I think out of India, where the red Chinese government complained to the United States that our military wasn't doing a good enough job in protecting the tens of thousands of Chinese copper and aluminum miners. They're getting all the minerals and treasures out of Afghanistan.
I saw a report. Texe, I saw a report 6 months ago where 92% of world rare earth minerals are Chi-Com controlled.
There you go. And the same thing is going on in China. Africa. Red China is moving in there with all the coal and the gold and the diamonds, the oil and so forth. So we have the same situation going on at the arrangements. And now you and I know what to make sure that the Chinese are protected as they steal all this stuff. The African Command was set up by Obama and our Pentagon. We're going to be there to die and protect the Chinese. And this is why, listen, Red China, with this recession going on, they're not selling their products. I mean, they're not selling the toys and the furniture and the clothing, because our economies have been suffering. The consumers really haven't been able to spend, especially in Europe. So how is China continuing to build gigantic empty cities? What's going on? I was driving down the road listening to Larry Kudlow, who's on CNBC, and a pretty honorable guy, at least, you think.